Good evening and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. Of course, I'm your host, Marcus McCoy, and today we're going to be asking the question, Black women, do we celebrate you enough? And before we dive into that conversation, I would definitely like our guests to introduce themselves, starting with Miss Karen Beamon.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Beamon. I'm a 26-year veteran, retired of the United States Army. I currently celebrate and worship at Prince of Peace Christian Fellowship Church. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, where I just celebrated my 50 years of membership. I am a member of Top Ladies of Distinction, and I currently serve as the president of the El Paso Sergeants Major Association. And thank you, Marcus, for the invite.
Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chrishelle. I am a retired federal civilian, a mother of 3, wife, and also a soror of Sigma Gamma Rho Incorporated. I enjoy reading, crocheting, and volunteering, and also fulfilling my promise to myself to maintain my health, as is the reason for my retirement at such an early age. Thank you, Marcus, for inviting me.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Crosby. I am 28 years old. I am an attorney. I've been an attorney almost about 4 years now. I am from San Antonio, Texas, but am a military child, a child of 2 Army veterans. I presently work for the government as a lawyer, and I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And thank you, Marcus, for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is LaNassa Moore. I'm a registered nurse. I've been practicing for about 18 years. I'm also a clinical adjunct nursing instructor for a university here in Jackson, Mississippi. I work for state government as a registered nurse, reviewing medical records for the government, as stated. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sororities Incorporated. I'm the mother of 1 and the grandmother of 1, both females. My granddaughter, love them dearly. And I have my fur baby, Bo. Thank you, Marcus, for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Diane Williams. I am a retired command sergeant major of 30 years. I am totally retired now. After I retired from the military, I became an instructor and later the lead instructor at the Sergeant Major's Academy. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority also. I am currently the president of the El Paso chapter of Top Ladies of Distinction and the vice president of the El Paso Panhellenic Council. Thank you, Marcus, for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. I feel like I got a star-studded cast right here. So we're gonna dive into it, going along with the topic. So first question, Black women, do you feel like we celebrate you enough? And we'll start with Ms. Karen Beamon.
The answer to that question is going to always be no, because we've been working on this a long time. As Black women, and it's not so much about the celebration from the public. We need to celebrate each other more. And I think that that's one of the things that we're missing is the celebration of each other. And when we start doing that, then the rest of the world will join in the celebration. But off the top of my head, no, we don't. But I would rather see it come from us than from anybody else. And absolutely. I'm talking Black women celebrating each other.
You got it, Chrishelle.
I feel the same way. I agree with Ms. Karen about us celebrating each other first. Another thing I would say no as well. My answer is no, because I feel like we always have to fight for our place in society. So I think us learning more about Black history gives us that determination to be so strong and not be assessed as the angry Black women as well.
Excellent points.
I would agree with what's also been said. we aren't celebrated enough, but also in the spaces, as many of us have all said, a lot of us are government work, military. We're a fraction of the population. At least for lawyers, less than 2% of all lawyers in the United States are Black women. And so it is hard to consistently do your job and do what you're passionate about, but then also have to celebrate yourself and find that time to celebrate those moments, because we're consistently working to break barriers and it can get exhausting. And so to take that time to celebrate where we are is extremely important.
Okay, my answer would be no also. And as everyone stated, we don't celebrate each other enough. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. We need to uplift each other. I'm guilty. I've been fussed at because I don't celebrate myself enough with accomplishments. Black women, we accomplish so much, but after we accomplish one goal, we're focused on moving to reaching another goal. So we have to stop and celebrate ourselves. And while we're doing that, we need to celebrate each other.
Excellent answer.
Oh, I will definitely agree with everyone else on the panel. We definitely are not celebrating enough. But I have to go back to what Karen said. One of the things that I think we as Black women should really improve on is, like Karen said, supporting each other. What I find, and even with the young ladies that I mentor, I tell them all the time that the hardest people you're going to have to lead is other alpha Black women, because we a lot of times are our worst enemy. And so when I'm out in the community, one of the things that I always try to do is to make sure that we give each other the praise. Because if we start to do that, I think we'll be celebrated a lot more. And the last thing I'd like to say on the subject is, especially the people in the background. You know, we have a lot of people who are out front, but it's those people that work in the background that are doing the hard behind the scenes work that I think we need to celebrate more.
Absolutely, man. Very excellent points. So we kind of touched on people in the background. All right, so from all of you, if you think about just, we'll say one person, right? That was a trailblazer in history, right? Growing up, what would make you pick that person? And I'm talking about African American woman. What would make you pick that person? But also, what are the traits that make you kind of identify with that person?
Good afternoon again. When I first saw that question, I kind of sat back and thought about that, because there are a lot of trailblazing Black women out there. But I have a personal story that gets me to my trailblazing star woman, based on a trailblazer from my village where I was raised. When I was, in elementary school, I'm originally from East St. Louis, Illinois, and I went to the library to check out a book, to sign up for my library card. And of course, I was denied because, I was a child being raised in the projects. And in order to get a library card, you had to own property. So the first person in the village to reach out to me and make a real difference in my life was Mrs. Mary Giles, who was my Sunday school teacher, who owned property. So she took me to the library and signed me up for my library card, which, fostered my love for reading. And the first book that I checked out was the autobiography of Mary McLeod Bethune. What a trailblazing Black woman. I mean, when I read the book, I was like, I would love to be like her. Now I'm not going to start a college, but it was all of the things that she did and the way that she lived her life that inspired me. So my village got me to a star, and it just made such a difference in my life and how I thought about the things that I wanted to do. Thank you.
For me, someone that would be a trailblazer, everyone would say our mothers and grandmothers. And I feel like that comes from personal teaching, guiding, and making sure we get through all the pains in life. So another person I wanted to notate as being an avid reader was Viola Davis. And I say this because in reading her book and watching her through television and everything, I feel like she has a significance from her career and throughout her life. And as she states, we all dealt with judgment, some of us insecurities and grief. And I believe she as a person has set the stage as a celebrity and an author as a, I guess, set the stage for Black women as a follower, someone that you can see as an individual to follow.
So I know you said one person, but I actually can think of two that I really wanted to highlight here. So Diane actually mentioned women supporting each other and celebrating each other. And when I read this question, there are two Black women that have taken me under as a mentee, a friend, especially in this type of career and service-oriented jobs. The first would be Antoinette Gant. She is also my sorority sister, but a family friend that we've known for years. And she's actually the person that convinced me to go to Prairie View A&M University, where I did my undergrad. And I couldn't thank her enough. She's always been supportive of me. She's always been someone I could talk to. And even just going to Prairie View opened the doors for me to go to law school. I never thought I'd go to law school. I never thought that I would be in the position that I'm in now. And she has supported me and been at every milestone. And so to have a woman that is achieving in her own, but then to reach back and mentor and take under her wing so many Black women and just women in general is amazing. And she actually, this past October, I attended her promotion ceremony where she became the first African-American female engineer on active duty to reach the level or the rank of brigadier general. And so to say I know her and to know her personally is amazing, to see this woman who has achieved so much and she's consistently giving back. And so those are some characteristics I saw in her. As for a second woman that I admire greatly, I met her through my job, just through work, and she's become an amazing friend and mentor. But Tracy Batson, she works for the government as well. And just to have someone who has made it in a field with less than 2% of Black women, and to be in our field, our division is even smaller. And for her to be in this position for 25 to over 20 years, she is very candid with me. She is consistently giving me advice. And she's super supportive. And so to have women like that, I consider it a blessing to have women that we're talking about, and these women, those type of women have been mentors to me.
Okay, I would have to say, after thinking, there is a village, as stated earlier, but the one person that stood out to me was my 8th and 9th grade science teacher, Miss Adele Smith. She's no longer with us, but she, I don't know, that's where I got my passion for the sciences, was through her. She knew how to push students. She knew how to dig deep and how to make you dig deep. She was caring. She was supportive. She was just smart, and I just looked up to her. She was firm. A lot of students didn't like her, and sometimes I didn't. And by her knowing the challenges I did face growing up, she didn't let me use that as an excuse. She pushed me. I was competitive with other students, and okay, I'm gonna make this high grade. So she's definitely the one that I consider my trailblazer. But as stated, as a village, it's like every stage of my life, I meet someone that's important to me, that's a mentor to me. So there are others, but she's the main one that sticks out during this time.
For me, the one person that I have to say stands out to me is Barbara Jordan. Barbara Jordan was from Houston. She grew up in the Fifth Ward. I grew up in the projects. But what really made Barbara Jordan significant to me was I got a chance to see her as a young girl, and she gave a speech. And one of the things I will always remember in her speech, she said was, "I will not sit by and be a bystander." And so she made an impact on her community in spite of obstacles, adversity, prejudice, ignorance, but yet she never quit, and she continued to try to improve her community in everything she did. And that's what I have tried to do and pattern my life after also. She wasn't a soft-spoken woman. She always stood her ground. And as I was coming up, especially being from the projects, you either had to speak up or you were ignored. And so I never wanted to just sit on the sidelines like her. And not to mention, she was also a Delta, and that's why I became a Delta, was because of her. And the only person that made me also had an impact on me was my music teacher, Miss Marjorie Cole. I was from the projects, like I said, but she always made me feel like no matter what I wanted to accomplish, I could do it. And so she's my other inspiration.
Excellent points. So now we're gonna kind of turn the page on the conversation, because just by listening to you all, you made me think of something, right? You all kind of touched on your upbringing in some form or fashion, right? So how do you feel like your upbringing molded you into the person you are today?
Well, like I said, growing up in a public housing project, attending all Black schools. And what I found interesting, I was a senior in I was in high school before I ever had a Caucasian instructor. So I had already, gotten to the point that, all teachers were Black, and they just, they would spank you while they teaching you, so you just, it was an amazing education, and it was an amazing time to be, a young Black woman, because you had people who, don't try to be smart, because once that was recognized, then you were going to be pushed. And I thank God for that, because they made me realize that, growing up in the projects is just where you live. That's not where you exist, and that's not where you have to stay. So they were about growth and movement and, and excelling. And I really, really appreciate the education that I got at Washington Elementary School and Hughes Quinn Junior High School and Lincoln Senior High School. So, I thank those educators that said, you got to push, you got to work hard if you're going someplace.
For me, I think my upbringing molded me to be proud of who I am. Mm-hmm. I always honored my mom for being a single parent and bringing me up in the environment that she did. And I feel like a lot of times people always call me spoiled, and I never took it for granted or as negative. I feel like I appreciated everything that I had, and it as molded me. I feel like it made me a better person, so that I can share the growth with my family and others around me. I'm just very appreciative.
It's funny that Karen said that her upbringing was, predominantly Black teachers. I actually can't remember having a Black teacher growing up. It wasn't until I got to a Black college that there were Black professors. I was raised in the suburbs in San Antonio. Both my parents were career military. My mom did 21 years, my dad did 20 years. But where we grew up was pretty diverse. And so It was an interesting experience for sure. And that's part of the reason why I went to a Black college, to be in a space where I wasn't the minority anymore, especially being my father's Black and my mom is Puerto Rican. So you kind of stick out sometimes. But in terms of just where I've been molded and how I move in the world is from my parents and even my grandparents. My family is a very service-based family. Both my parents served. My dad's side, his parents served, his siblings. If they're not in the military, we work for the government. So we've all been public service oriented, and we've always been giving and willing to do whatever to help the people around us. And so that's what drove me in life, and that's what drove me to the career that I'm at now, is to have the heart and empathy to represent people and, and serve the public in a way that not many other people can. And it's very satisfying to know that this is a continuation of a generational thing in my family.
Okay, for me, my upbringing molded me in a sense of making me more determined, caring person. As stated, Ms. Dale Smith, she took me under her wing. My church, Mount Elizabeth in Bolton, Mississippi, we had women there. They took me under their wing and other young ladies. High school, teacher that stands out, Miss Sonia Marcellus, she took me under her wing. I played basketball for her, and she was my math instructor. So, and then with my family, we are known for just taking others in. We're feeding them. We're taking them places with us, taking them to church. So when I was teaching school, I had a desire to help the young ladies there. So I would take them with me, take them to church. I wanted to pour into them as people poured into me. So my upbringing is just, I don't know. It's just, I got that caring spirit, which we all should have, because like I stated earlier, we're here to elevate each other. So as we grow, we need to learn to elevate our other young women, our Black women, not just our Black women, all women, but especially our Black women, because we face so many struggles. So I like to pour into our young Black women. So I only had one child, a daughter by birth, but I have so many children. I did attend Jackson State University, and my daughter did also. So I call them my JSU babies. So I have many other children that I try to pour into.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Well, how did my background, my upbringing determine who I am? I guess I'll have to start with my mother. She was the fifth of 11 children. She had to quit school in the 5th grade in order to go pick cotton.
Wow.
But what my mother taught me at a young age was the difference between wisdom and intellectual smartness. She didn't have book knowledge, but she was the wisest woman that I know. Like I said, I grew up in the projects, and in the projects, there was no place in the projects for you to be passive. And so we didn't have a whole lot, but my house was always the house where all the kids always hung out. My mom always had a meal for someone if they needed it. So I learned at a very young age about community service. But I also learned at a very young age the importance of education. Because although my mother didn't have an education, she was death on us about going to school and making sure we had one. I mentioned my teacher, Miss Marjorie Cole. She was another one that always kept me straight. If I was messing up in school, she would pull me to the side. And so my dominating personality comes from where I grew up. But one of the things I learned is that you always want to give back to your community. You always want to make sure that if someone is in need, that you wanted to be there to give them a helping hand. And that's what I've always tried to do in my career, and even now as a retired person. So that's how my background is me.
Great answers, great answers, great answers. So here's another question, right? I noticed that everybody's kind of talking about the educational background and that type of thing, right? So I guess my question would be, from an educational standpoint, and this is something that's a revolving theme that I keep on hearing in a bunch of different panels, and I've also mentioned it on the show, but I want to ask you ladies myself, right? Do you think that you could get the same level of education at a PWI versus HBCU?
I'm going to say yes, but the difference that you're going to get, not only are you going to get a good education at an HBCU, because people are, you're not going to get it, but what you're also going to get is some love and some guidance and the strength and that sense of community that keeps you, that keeps you moving. And that's what you don't get at a PWI. And so the education, because if you graduate, it doesn't matter whether you graduated from a PWI or an HBCU, because what that says is you can do something and you're going to stick to it. What you get from the HBCU is the push that makes you successful and keeps you moving, and you're not lost, and the sense of community that is a real I went to a PWI. I went to the University of Illinois, and so now you got to create the community to survive. Well, you go to an HBCU, the community is already there. All you got to do is embrace it, because they're going to embrace you. So I hope that HBCUs never go away, because they truly, truly, truly have a point and a purpose. And we got a whole bunch of Black children that need to be going to HBCUs. So we need to be out there fighting and supporting them. And, and I'm not saying that, if the program or what you need is at a PWI, then go. But, let's never discount our HBCUs, because they've put a whole lot of important folks in the world, and we need them, and we will always need them.
That's what I'm talking about, Mom. I felt that right there from the heart. Woo! You got it, Chrishelle.
Me personally, I went to a private college, and from what I can remember, I can't even remember HBCUs even being a big thing or being mentioned. So now, as being older, I wish I had a chance to go to a HBCU and experience it. My sister did, and she loves it. I would recommend it. But to your question, yes, I think that you get the same kind of education, but I think the environment makes a big difference to choosing a HBCU as a Black person.
You got it, Victoria.
So this is absolutely my favorite topic in the world. I am very passionate about this. I went to an HBCU for undergraduate, Prairie View A&M University, right outside of Houston, Texas. And then for law school, I went to the University of Wisconsin in Madison. So I have had both experiences. And I have consistently said that the experiences that I had at Prairie View are unmatched, completely unmatched. I remember growing up and looking at colleges. I've heard even people of color, Black people, say, like, you want to go to the PWIs. That's where the money is. That's where the opportunities are, because the endowment funds and all of those things. I chose to go to Prairie View, and I got opportunities there that I never would have gotten at a PWI. The attention that I got from professors, I was the first student from Prairie View to do the semester at sea program, where I lived on a ship and went for 4 months and went to 12 countries all over Asia and Africa. I lived in China for a summer and studied Chinese. I wasn't going to get that. I probably could have, but those opportunities, I wouldn't say they fell in my lap, but they were more open at an HBCU, and because of the opportunities that I had at Prairie View. Now, the opportunities I had at Prairie View opened the door for me to go to a big school like the University of Wisconsin Law School. And I had people, and I'll be honest, I had people tell me when I was at Wisconsin, oh, I wish I didn't get a scholarship so that someone like you could get a scholarship. I honestly was told that my first year. And I was like, do you even know what I've done in my life? I'm like, I speak Chinese. I do this. I have, and I could list down a thing. I'm like, you probably haven't done those things in your life. And I got that all from an HBCU. So in terms of education, yes, you get a degree, but I think education is more than the classroom. So it is a different education because you're going to get an experience that says, I'm not a minority. I'm not being called on to say, what's the Black perspective? What's the Puerto Rican perspective? What, can you answer this for me on behalf of all Black people? No, I can't. To see Black people in a space where we are in every shade, to see people who are engineers, doctors, nurses, professors, to see us in every spectrum does so much for your personal education, for my personal self-esteem. I've also told people, had I gone to Wisconsin or a school like that as an undergrad, I would not be where I am today. And that is purely because of Prairie View and HBCUs. And so I will say this, and I don't even have kids. My kids are going to an HBCU because they need that. I don't even have kids, but they are going to an HBCU because of the experiences. You learn about Black history, but you also learn about Black excellence, and you see it. And it is the most beautiful thing to see, and to see everyone supporting each other in a way, because some of the stuff I saw at Wisconsin was crabs in a barrel. We all have limited spots here, and there's a few of us here, so let me be the one, don't come near me type stuff. And we had to consistently make that community and make it strong for us. Now, it's not saying it wasn't possible, because we did make that community, but it wasn't like it was at a Black college. No, nowhere near it. So I would say the educations are different in terms of personal education. Degree, we can all get a degree from somewhere.
Excellent point. Excellent point. LaNassa, I already know what you about to say. Well, go ahead.
Education, your degree, of course, you can get it PWI, HBCU. But as a graduate from an HBCU, it's the experience, as Victoria stated. It's nothing like it. I started at Tougaloo College, but I did finish my degree at Jackson State University. D, I love, go Tigers. Also, I did my RN and BSN at Belhaven University, and I just completed my master's at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. So I've had the experience from both. Love all my schools I've attended and receiving degrees from, but it's the experience as an HBCU that you cannot, you just got to have it. You got to experience it. And I'm glad my daughter did. She has a degree from Jackson State University also. And of course, all my other babies, it's just, it's like home, family. You're going to have your disagreements, but you have disagreement with families, but you know what? You're going to make up. And then when you have homecoming, oh my God, it's just like a big family reunion. It's nothing like it. It's just, it's just a great experience. Everybody should experience it.
Well, for me, none of my degrees came from an HBCU, but I did get a chance to experience the atmosphere of going to an HBCU through my sister. My little sister went to Houston-Tillotson in Austin, and watching her go through school was a totally different experience from what I went through. The dedication of the instructors, the way the instructors took a personal interest in her education. Now, she had her issues going to an HBCU also, because, sometimes we're hard on each other. But I watch all the time how the reunions that she has, she and I both belong to Phi Delta Kappa, which is an educators organization, and we have a partnership with Houston-Tillotson. And the way that all of these former educators pour into the young ladies that are in school right now, it's very heartwarming to see the experience and watch the dedication that they provide to these young ladies as they're starting out their educational careers. So I am all for HBCUs. I talk to all of the young ladies that I mentor when they're getting ready to go to school in Top Ladies of Distinction. We have a teen program, and we talk to our young teens about, considering going to an HBCU, because I think that it is that important.
Excellent, excellent points, man. Y'all making my job so easy today. Like I ain't had to talk, do nothing. Y'all, I'm just sitting back and I'm just riding the wave. I definitely appreciate y'all. So I'm gonna double back on something Victoria said. Where she used the term crabs in a barrel mentality, right? Or crabs in a bucket, whatever, however you want to frame it, right? As Black women, do you feel like you've had to compete harder to get where you are simply because you are Black and you are a woman?
What's the question, Marcus?
Do you feel like you had to compete harder or go that extra length because you are a Black woman? And we'll start with none other than Miss Karen Beamon, because I know she's ready to go.
I had to laugh. I mean, Marcus, the competition and the struggle starts from birth. Again, like I said, I was raised in East St. Louis, a city that I couldn't even be born in. You had to go across the river to Missouri, have your baby, and then come back to Illinois. So, so you start from the crib, and then, for the rest of your life, it doesn't matter what you're doing, now, because you got three, you're Black and you're female. So every day you get up, and it doesn't matter what profession you've chosen to be in, it's a struggle, because you got to be better, not only than your male counterparts, you also represent your race. So you got to be, you got to be the Black person on point. And like Victoria said, they always want to ask you about the Black experience. I had one of my classmates at the University of Illinois walk up to me and say, you're the first Black person I ever went to school with. And I always found it interesting, because white people always think that, there are no experiences for you, because of course my answer was, well, you're the first white people I ever went to school with. So, what's the difference here? I was in the military. I actually had to answer an IG complaint because I had some female soldiers that complained. They said that I was harder on my female soldiers than my male soldiers. And so when the colonel asked me about that, I said, yes, I am. So he was stuck, because now what do you do? And I said, because I know what the struggle is for women to succeed, and they can't come in here acting crazy, looking crazy, and being crazy. So yes, I am harder on them. So you get up every day, and it's a struggle every day. And that struggle doesn't end until you get out of the workforce. And then and then it still could be a struggle. But that's the one thing I love about Black women. We're tough, we're resilient. Nothing stops us when we want something. So yeah, so so that's that's the flip side of the coin. That's why we are who we are, and we do what we do, because we've been struggling for a long time. And it doesn't end. The only thing we need to do better, like I said earlier, we need to celebrate each other, and we need to lift as we climb. We cannot leave sisters behind.
Excellent points. Excellent points.
I agree with Miss Karen. I think we do have to compete more as Black women. But something else that I wanted to point out is when she said we need to celebrate each other. I've been in circumstances, and I've seen other friends tell me that I think we get a little big-headed as Black women when we do get in a higher position. And I think sometimes some of us take that position to the head, and they bring others down with them. So I think the most important factor when talking about us uplifting and celebrating each other when it comes to us being in high positions, I think that's also something that we should look back on, is that everybody is not as educated or come from the same background, that just don't leave others behind.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
I definitely would agree that we have to work harder. I've even seen it in my career field. It's a white male dominated field. And even in some of the instances in my work, I have had it's like pulling teeth to get something done when I'm asking for it. But then as soon as a male attorney or a white male attorney comes in, it gets done immediately. And we have the same title. It just, what they see is someone that they don't, I guess, respect right away, or recognize the title in the same way, which can be extremely frustrating, especially in the legal career field. But one thing Chrishelle just said too was that while we're celebrating each other and lifting each other up and not leaving each other behind, all of us here are service-oriented jobs. And part of the reason why I am in the career field that I'm in is because I do recognize those disparities. And so if everyone can't have the educational opportunities or the different experiences that we've all had, then I wanted to make sure that I was in a space that I could speak for those individuals. Now, I'm not saying I've had every experience, but I try to look at everyone as a human, as their own experience, so that no one is left out, no one is forgotten as long as I'm dealing with it. Because that's how I've been raised. I was raised to pour into people. People poured into me. To represent other individuals who can't represent themselves. And so that's really a big, important thing for me. And so that's why even the crabs in a barrel mentality has never been any of my upbringing, ideology, that I'm one of those individuals that I'm like, if I want to celebrate you, it's not going to be a discount on me. I'm going to celebrate everyone around me, because we're all doing great things in our own lanes. And within our lanes, we all just move forward together.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Okay, being a Black woman in America is challenging. We're expected to be strong. We can take on so much. We're helping others while we struggle. We aren't known to show vulnerability. We're labeled as aggressive. And the thing is, we are strong. We have to be strong, but it's a strength and it's a weakness for us. As stated, we have some Black women that do get in positions and they get too big-headed and they forget about others. Then we have some that want to be in those positions, but they're competing in a sense with someone else and like, okay, I'm gonna do better than this. The thing is, my sister, why can't we just help each other? If you get it this time, I'm gonna cheer you on, and then you can help me get on. I remember applying for something else, and I know somebody else applied. She got it. Congratulations, I'm happy for you. It's gonna be my turn next time. And as Victoria stated, disparities, that was in my notes. We face disparities in our workplace, in healthcare, in sports. Disparities everywhere. In healthcare, our Black women, they are so prone to die during childbirth because they're not taken seriously when they're speaking up saying, hey, this doesn't feel right. Or even in a hospital, when they say they're in pain, they're not being believed. We're not believed because you know what? They're saying that, oh, you're not hurting. They think our pain level is so much higher because we don't speak up because we're strong. So we're expected to be this way. So the thing is, we have to be strong, but then sometimes, we're still female. We're still feminine. We can be vulnerable, but don't take our vulnerability as a weakness.
Excellent.
If I had to pick a word for being a Black woman, it would be tough. Tough would be the word that I would choose because I was raised to work hard because I was a woman and harder because I was Black. But however, after joining the military and the more successful I became, it seemed to me that it switched. It seems that I had to work hard because I was Black and even harder because I was a woman. When I went to drill sergeant school, it was only 3 of us in the class. And it was always known that the person who graduated number 1 would get to read the drill sergeant creed at graduation. Well, I graduated number 1, but the sergeant major told me I couldn't read the creed at graduation, and his excuse was because I was too passive. Now, if anybody knows me, they know that the last thing I am is passive.
Absolutely.
But that is what he did because he did not want me to read the creed because I was a woman. And he told the men in my class that they should be ashamed that they let a woman beat them. When I tried to transfer into being a air traffic controller, the recruiter told me that I couldn't switch because he said that there weren't many blacks in aviation and that they normally didn't make it. But because I had the scores, he didn't have a choice. And when I became an air traffic controller and I entered into aviation, that's when I got a chance to see how tough it really was, because a lot of times I was the only woman and a lot of times the only black in the room. So if I made a suggestion, it was as though it wasn't heard. But if a white male made the exact same suggestion, it became a great idea. So I think a lot of times we're caught in between the intersection of hypervisibility and invisibility. That's where I think a black woman finds herself a lot of times. And then like a lot of the ladies on the panel has said, sometimes we don't do a very good job of building each other up. Just because we may have a difference of opinion doesn't mean that it's personal, doesn't mean that we don't like you, doesn't mean that we won't uplift you. It just means that we're all voicing our opinion, but when it's all said and done, we're going to support each other. And that is what I think the resounding message should be for Black women. We can agree to disagree, but once a decision is made, let's cheer each other on and support each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh man. Great point. Y'all got me look. I'm about to tear up over here. Nah, seriously, some really great. I don't know if you guys can see the comments or not, the people chiming in, but uh the people are looking are definitely in agreement. I'm definitely in agreement with everything you all said. It's definitely on point. It is warranted. I want you to know from my vantage point, because I have a personal relationship with all of you, you are definitely all appreciated for the amazing Black women that you are. I want to, before we bring this to a close, I definitely want to thank you all for coming on here. We got to do this again. I feel like I just drafted the All-Star team, and all I had to do was just sit back in the corner and just, I ain't even call no plays. Y'all just ran all the plays out. So y'all got that type of chemistry. But as we get ready to close, I would like you all to give, from the discussion we had, just the final thoughts that you want to leave the listeners with.
Well, for me, Marcus, one of the things that I would like to remind women, especially Black women, what makes us successful? We need to have, live our faith in God, have faith in ourselves, just believe that we can do whatever it is we set our minds to, and that there are people out there who are going to support you. We're going to have our differences, but let's win this fight together, because if we decide that that's what we want to do, there's no stopping us. Because Black women, we it, buddy. We are it, and we know it.
One thing I would want to leave is internalizing our focus on what we deserve. And that's when it comes to our education, our communities, and most importantly, our self-esteem. I think for me, I like to see more Black women separating themselves from society's perspectives when it comes to all these surgeries and just what you think or you expect you should be like, and just be yourself and live freely and live happily as you are.
I would say that, especially with all the strong women here, we have been labeled as strong, but we are allowed to be vulnerable. And consistently, I see us striving and working so hard that our health, our mental health, our physical health, emotional health can suffer because of how hard we're working to just make space for ourselves, to be seen but not be hypervigilant, to be visible but not invisible, to just do what we are destined to do what we are passionate about doing without having to fight all of the other battles on top of it. And so just taking that time to protect yourself and protect your mental space, and knowing there are times too that you don't have to push too far. At the end of the day, the person you have to live with is yourself. And that if you're proud of what you're doing and then you also need to take care of yourself, then that's what you have to do for us to keep moving forward.
Victoria, I think we're vibing right now because my thing was take care of yourself. Self-care is important. We all can achieve, we can all be strong, but take care of your mental health. It's okay to not be okay. Take time on yourself. It's okay to see a therapist. In our community, that's a taboo or something, but church-going woman, pray, I believe, but I can still pray and believe and still see a therapist, and it's okay. So I'm still strong, but I'm learning to show some vulnerability. And it's hard because I still say people believe that if you show some type of vulnerability, you're weak. That's not it. I'm strong because I'm doing it. And so I want our Black women to realize that.
Excellent point.
Well, my closing thought is that I would still challenge Black women to continue to break down barriers and to continue to be leaders of commitment, courage, character, for us to continue to support each other instead of tearing each other down. Well, when I came into the military, the advice that I was given was to do not follow where the path may lead, but go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. That's what I've tried to do in my career, is to leave a trail so that other Black women can come in through the trail that I've blazed and leave a trail for other Black women to follow them. So that is my challenge to especially the young Black women. I see so many young ones that are out there doing outstanding work. And I would just encourage them to don't get discouraged, continue to strive for excellence, and always believe in God and in themselves.
Excellent. Very, very spot on. I want to thank you again for being on here. As I give my closing thoughts, what message I want to convey is that I don't think we celebrate Black women enough. I want to give these ladies on this panel their flowers now. I've got to witness the great things you have done and things you will continue to do. I also say to the Black women who are out there listening, hey, look, I thank you for what you're doing as well. I didn't really mention it, but if you're gonna ask me who my role model is, the person that blazed the trail, in my opinion, is gonna be my mother. So, Sarah Starks, if you are listening, of course, I love you. You're greatly appreciated, and I would not be here today without you. But with that being said, I invite you guys to tune in to the next episode of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. It's gonna be March 6th. Until then, El Paso. Until next time, it's been real.